Welcome to the Betrayed Michael channel. If this is your first time here, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. We talk about truth, betrayal, and bouncing back stronger. I should have trusted my gut the second she stepped into the room. Something about her energy hit different that night. Her name's Melissa, and the moment I saw that familiar, smug little half-smile on her face, I knew she had something up her sleeve. That barely there smirk, the one she wore like it was some private joke only she was in on, yeah, it was back. She stood there at the kitchen doorway, arms folded just under her chest, leaning on the frame like she owned the place. The fabric of her white blouse stretched slightly around her curves, and she had that look in her eyes, sparkly, smug, like she was about to drop a grenade and watch the fireworks. "I've got plans tonight," she said in this sing-songy tone, like she was telling me she was going out for coffee, not delivering a gut punch. I didn't even glance her way, just kept pouring my whiskey over the clinking ice in the glass. "Plans?" I asked, keeping my voice flat. No emotion. No reaction. Just calm. She answered, stepping away from the door frame and strutting toward me. Her hips moved with intention, the kind of walk she used when she wanted to say something without speaking. She brushed right past me, just barely letting her arm touch mine. Just enough to let me know it was on purpose. A date, actually. Boom. There it was. The line she'd been practicing in her head, maybe in front of a mirror, waiting for the perfect moment to drop it. She wanted drama. She needed me to lose it, throw the glass, yell, maybe even beg. But all she got was me, sipping my drink slow and steady, letting the burn of the whiskey carry my pain down with it. Then I looked up. Really looked at her. At the way her lips parted like she thought I was about to explode. There was anticipation in her eyes, like she was watching a fire she lit and just waiting for it to spread. I set the glass down gently and delivered the line I'd been sitting on for weeks. Didn't even blink. "Tell your boyfriend," I said, pausing just long enough, "his wife says hello." The air shifted instantly. Her smirk cracked like a dropped mirror. She blinked, once, twice, like her brain was short-circuiting. Like she couldn't figure out how the math stopped adding up. I saw the gears turning in her head. Watching that flicker of panic push aside the smugness was something I'll never forget. What did you just say?" she whispered, her voice suddenly small. I didn't answer. Just picked up my glass and walked past her, slow and deliberate, heading toward the hallway. Every step I took was heavy, not with fear, not anymore. With certainty. With the weight of everything she didn't know I knew. Behind me, I heard her breathing shift, shallow, sharp. "Michael," she said louder this time. But I kept walking. I couldn't look back. Not yet. If I had, she would have seen the pain behind my calm, the storm I was holding back behind clenched fists and locked jaw. She wasn't ready to see that part. Not yet. I closed the bedroom door behind me and leaned on it for a second, letting the silence wrap around me like a weighted blanket. My heart was pounding, not from the fight, but from everything else, betrayal, heartbreak, and if I'm being honest, a little bit of cold, grim satisfaction. I'd been waiting for that moment. Watching her for weeks, the way she tested me, pushed my buttons, laughed too long at texts that weren't from me. Dressing up for late-night meetings. Holding her phone close like it had a soul of its own. She thought I wasn't paying attention. But I'm not an idiot. A man knows when his wife's body is home, but her heart's somewhere else, probably tangled in someone else's sheets. She was expecting fireworks. I gave her silence. The kind of silence that fills the whole house, makes the walls feel like they're closing in. I stood at the window, staring out into the empty street, watching a single car glide by, headlights slicing the darkness like a knife. And I waited. Waited for her to charge upstairs with lies, tears, excuses. But the house stayed quiet. She was downstairs, doing the math, scrambling to figure out how much I knew. And I'll tell you this, Melissa might be clever. But so am I. So Caleb, the private investigator I hired, real sharp guy, ex-cop, didn't miss much. He was as quiet as he was thorough. I gave him the number from that message I found, told him the dates when she claimed she was out with friends, or stuck at some late work meeting. Caleb got to work right away. 3 days later, he called. "She's not just cheating, Mike," he said, his voice flat like he was reading off a weather report. "She's cheating with a married man." I didn't say a word. My grip on the phone tightened. His name's Alex Ramos. Owns a boutique design firm. Married. 2 kids. Wife's name is Megan. My brain started spinning. Melissa, my wife, she used to lose her mind over people who cheated. She'd go on these long, heated rants about women who broke up families, about how low you had to be to sneak around like that. And now? She was doing exactly what she claimed to hate. The irony of it all was almost funny, if it didn't punch me in the gut so hard. But the worst part wasn't the hypocrisy. It was what came next. Caleb sent over the photos. Melissa, my wife, standing outside some downtown hotel in the black coat I bought her for our anniversary. Holding hands with Alex like they were teenage sweethearts skipping class. In another shot, they were pressed up together, laughing, her head tilted back, completely lost in whatever stupid thing he'd said. She hadn't laughed like that with me in I don't even know how long. I saved every photo in a private folder. Every receipt Caleb tracked down. Every timestamp. Every moment she'd stolen, using our shared credit card, by the way, to book motel rooms so she could run off and pretend her marriage didn't exist. My money. My marriage. All used to fund her escape. And look, the sex. I could stomach that. I could get over the physical part eventually. But it was the effort that crushed me. She gave him everything, energy, attention, affection, all the things she'd stopped offering me long ago. She shaved for him. Bought new lingerie. She hadn't done either of those things for me in over a year. Somewhere deep inside, something broke. Not in an angry, violent way, more like something cracked cold and clean. That's when things shifted inside me. I didn't want revenge. I wanted the truth, and not just for me. If she was gonna treat me like I was blind, I was gonna see everything. No more illusions. One night, I found myself on Alex's social media, looking through pictures of his wife, Megan. She was classy, elegant in this quiet kind of way. Didn't post much, but when she did, it was real. A shot of her holding her kids on the beach, genuine smile, eyes full of warmth. She had no idea. And that made me sick. Melissa was sound asleep in our bed, back turned to me, clueless that I was staring at the other man's wife, wondering if she deserved to know the truth, just like I did. And the more I sat with that thought, the clearer it got, I wasn't the only one being lied to. The anger I'd been feeling? It stopped being red hot. It cooled, sharpened. It turned into something colder, more focused. This wasn't just about me anymore. So I started changing. I stopped asking where she was. Didn't push when she worked late. I didn't say a word when she walked in freshly showered but reeking of a cologne I didn't wear. She thought she had control of the game. She didn't realize I was already setting up the board. One evening, the house was silent, too silent. Melissa was in the kitchen, swirling a glass of red wine like she was starring in a movie. Her back to me, hips leaned on the counter. She was wearing that silk blouse I used to love, the one that clung to her curves like water. But tonight? It looked like a costume. Like she was playing a role. I stepped into the room. She didn't even look at me. "You're home early," she said, her voice calm. "Didn't you have a meeting?" "Cancelled," I replied. Then she turned, and I saw it. The smirk was there, but it wasn't confident anymore. It trembled, like it wasn't sure it belonged. I looked straight through her. Not at her face, or her figure. I saw who she'd become: hollow eyes, fake confidence, dressed-up lies. "I need to ask you something," I said, my tone even. She raised an eyebrow. "Okay, shoot." I walked over to the table and pulled my phone from my pocket. Slid it across to her. "You're gonna wanna look at this." When she looked at the phone screen, you'd think I'd slapped her. The color drained from her face. I could tell instantly, she had no clue I knew everything. "You didn't even know, did you?" I said, my voice low and calm. "You weren't just cheating on me, Melissa. You were helping him cheat on his wife too." Her mouth moved, but no sound came out. I wasn't about to let her off the hook. "Tell me everything," I said. "Or I will." Her head jerked up. "What?" "You heard me," I repeated. "You've got one shot to come clean. Everything. How it started, how long it went on. Or I call Megan, and let her know the kind of man her husband really is." Her face went pale. "Mike, please, don't drag her into this." "Why not?" I asked. "She deserves the truth. Same as me." That hit her. She looked away and whispered, "Exactly." Then she sank into the chair like her legs had given out. Like the weight of it all finally landed. "It started last summer," she said, voice trembling. "At the gym. We just kept bumping into each other. He complimented my hair one day, and I don't know, it felt good. To be seen. To be flirted with. To feel alive," I said flatly. She nodded, ashamed. We started texting. Then it got more flirty. Then we kissed. And then. She covered her face with both hands. I didn't mean for it to go so far. But it did. I stepped back, away from the table. Shaking my head, trying to steady my breath. "You know what hurts the most?" I asked. She looked up, her mascara streaking like war paint down her cheeks. "That even when you had the chance to stop, you didn't. You chose him. Over me. Over everything we had." She broke down completely then. Sobbing, ugly and raw. I turned to the hallway, grabbing my coat. "Mike, where are you going?" she called after me. I paused at the door. To call Alex's wife. And then I left. I chose the cafe carefully. Quiet spot, tucked off a tree-lined street outside town. No music, no distractions, no risk of bumping into someone we knew. Just small tables, warm lighting, and the kind of calm that made a confrontation feel more like surgery. Alex showed up 7 minutes late. Told me all I needed to know. He'd probably stood in his bathroom debating whether to come at all. Wondering what I knew. Wondering if this was going to end with me putting him through a wall. He spotted me right away. I didn't stand. Just watched him cross the room, his steps hesitant, like I was a stray dog that might bite. "Mike," he said, offering a handshake. I didn't take it. "Sit." He hesitated, then slowly lowered himself into the chair across from me. He had that polished look, clean-cut, buttoned up, nice watch. The kind of guy who probably coasted through life with a smile and some charm. But today? The charm was gone. His jaw was locked. His eyes kept flicking to my phone on the table like he thought it might explode. "I'm guessing this isn't about coffee," he said, trying to play it casual. I leaned back in my chair. "Relax. I'm not here to throw punches. That's not really my style." He nodded, but I saw the sweat already starting to collect around his collar. I let the silence stretch. Then I said, "She told me everything." He dropped his gaze. Didn't exactly cover your tracks well, I added. He looked up, startled. I tapped the phone. Private investigator. Photos. Dates. Receipts. Jesus, he muttered, rubbing his face. Look, I never meant for it to go that far. Didn't you? He looked away. You knew she was married. And you still took her to hotels. Still bought her gifts. Still played house like none of it mattered. It wasn't like that. Yes, it was, I snapped. Don't insult me. He went quiet. A waitress stopped by, and we both waved her off. I know about Megan too, I said. Your wife. Sweet family. Cute kids. Lot of Pinterest perfect posts. Must be nice. His face drained. You haven't told her yet, have you? He shook his head slowly. No. God, no. Please don't. I leaned in. You think I owe you that? No, he whispered. But please, it'll destroy her. I stared at him, let the word hang in the air. Destroy, I repeated. Now you're catching on. Melissa was never anything more than a fling to you, was she? He nodded slowly. No. I mean, I told her things. Made it seem like, but no. I was never going to leave Megan. I gave a bitter smile. You didn't end it. I did. He flinched at that. Here's what's going to happen, I said. You're going to leave this cafe. You're going to pray I don't dial your wife's number. And you're going to stay the hell away from Melissa. No more texts. No more phone calls. No more hotel rooms. He nodded like a scolded schoolboy. But don't think this is over, I added. I haven't decided what to do yet. Maybe I tell Megan tomorrow. Maybe next week. Maybe on your anniversary. His jaw clenched. Why are you doing this? Because you broke something I cared about, I said. You stepped into my life and treated it like it was yours to ruin. I get it, he mumbled. I deserve this. You do. We sat there in silence for a bit. Then he asked, what do you want from me, Mike? I leaned in one last time. I want you to sweat. I stood up, slid my chair in. I want you to wake up every morning wondering if this is the day your whole life falls apart. Just like I did. While you were inside my wife. His head dropped. I walked out. Back in my car, I didn't turn the engine over right away. I just sat there, staring through the windshield like the glass might give me answers I hadn't found yet. I thought I'd feel something, relief, maybe. Some kind of closure. But all I felt was this cold, heavy stillness. It wasn't revenge. It wasn't even satisfaction. It was something sharper. Cleaner. Clarity. I didn't want to hit him. I didn't want to scream. What I wanted was to break him in the quiet, permanent way he helped break me. No noise. No scene. Just a quiet undoing, the way betrayal undoes everything when it first finds its way into your life. But even after all that, I didn't call Megan. Not yet. Her name sat in my phone like a loaded weapon, Megan Ramos, saved with a number I hadn't used. I'd scroll past it, feel my thumb hover, then keep scrolling. Every time. Like touching it might fire a shot I couldn't take back. I thought about what that call would mean. What it would do to her world. Was it my place? Was it the right time? So, I waited. For days, I carried that truth like a stone in my chest. Melissa kept up her routine, 3 yoga nights a week, always the same outfit, never a yoga mat. She came home flushed, out of breath, pretending to be tired from stretching when I knew she was just done lying down with someone else. And each time she walked through that door, I found myself thinking less about her, and more about Megan. Was she asleep next to Alex, wondering why he was suddenly colder? Was she picking out dinner while he texted Melissa from the bathroom? She didn't know. She hadn't been given the chance to know. And that started to bother me more than the betrayal itself. Because if anyone deserved the truth, it was her. So finally, after one more fake yoga night, I sat down on the edge of the bed, pulled out my phone, and typed the message that had been burning in the back of my mind. You don't know me, but I think we need to talk. It's about your husband. I'm not trying to hurt you. You deserve the truth. There was a long pause. Then. Is this a joke? Who is this? I replied. Mike Carter. My wife is Melissa. I believe she's been seeing your husband, Alex. The typing bubble vanished. Then came one final message. Call me. Now. We met the next day. Neutral ground, quiet park, west side of town. Far enough from both our homes that it felt like nobody else's world could bleed into it. Megan was already there when I pulled in. Standing by a bench, arms crossed tight over her chest, coat cinched at the waist. Her dark hair was pulled back, her expression calm but cracked at the edges, like someone holding back a storm. She was beautiful, but not in some polished, made-up way. She looked real. Honest. Worn out by reality. Mike? She asked quietly as I approached. I nodded. Thanks for meeting me. Let's sit, she said, already lowering herself to the bench like the weight of the day had caught up to her. So we sat. Two strangers. Two spouses. One wreck. And then. I told her everything. I didn't come here to destroy your life, I told Megan gently. But you deserve to know what's really been going on. She looked at me, steady, guarded, but not afraid. Then tell me. So I did. I pulled out my phone and showed her everything. The photos. The receipts. A few of the texts Melissa hadn't gotten around to deleting. I didn't embellish anything. I just gave her the truth, straight. Megan stared at the pictures like they were puzzle pieces she'd been trying to ignore. Her hand started to tremble, just slightly. But she didn't cry. Not yet. How long? She whispered, eyes never leaving the screen. Since last summer, I said quietly. At least that's when I think it started. It could have been earlier. She let out a shaky breath like she'd been punched in the ribs. We have 2 kids. Been together 12 years. And I didn't see any of it. I knew that feeling too well. That burning shame. That endless how did I miss it? Because we trust them, I said. Because we believe them, until we can't anymore. She nodded slowly. Her hands were clenched in her lap now, knuckles pale. I noticed Alex pulling away a little. I thought it was work. Maybe stress, or something midlife and dumb. But not this. A long, heavy silence stretched between us. Then she asked, he doesn't know I know, right? No, I said. Not unless he figured I'd tell you. And I didn't promise him I wouldn't. She turned toward me, her eyes sharper now. So, what are you planning to do? I shook my head. That's the part one haven't figured out yet. We sat there, just breathing. 2 strangers sitting on a bench, bound together by the same betrayal. The wind picked up and rustled the leaves at our feet like the world was reminding us everything was changing. Megan shifted slightly. Can I ask you something? Yeah, anything. Why did you tell me? That made me pause. I guess, because I would have wanted someone to do the same for me. Because you didn't deserve to be lied to any more than I did. And maybe I didn't want to feel like I was the only one drowning anymore. Her face softened. No one gets it, I added. Not the pain of it. Not the quiet insanity of pretending everything's normal while your life burns to the ground in the background. She looked down, then nodded. It's like smiling through dinner while you're suffocating. That line hit me like a brick. Because it was true. We'd both been wearing masks, trying to survive in homes that no longer felt like ours. So what now? She asked. I shrugged. We could blow it all up. Tell them we know. Walk away. Let it burn. She considered that, nodding slowly. Or we play the long game, I said. Make them feel what we felt. Not just the hurt, doubt, jealousy, paranoia. The kind that crawls into your head and won't leave. Her eyes met mine. You mean psychological warfare? I mean justice. She didn't answer right away. But then she smirked, just a little. The first trace of defiance. Let's make them wonder who's lying now. By the time we got up, it was already dark. We hadn't made a step-by-step plan, just laid the groundwork. Two people, broken but no longer willing to play the part of the victim. As Megan walked to her car, she turned back and said, they wanted games. Let's give them some. That's when it hit me. Melissa wasn't the only one who could play with fire. People think the worst part of cheating is the sex. It's not. It's the logistics. The details. The time they carve out of days that should have been yours. It's the late meetings. The friends you never meet. The extra showers. The cologne that doesn't belong to you. The lies that get folded into routine until you start questioning what was ever real. Then came Thursday. Megan called me. Her voice was tight, quick. I found something, she said. She was waiting at the same cafe where I'd met Alex weeks earlier, laptop open in front of her. Her fingers hovered above the trackpad like they weren't sure whether to dig deeper or slam the screen shut and walk away. I logged into our shared credit account, she said, her eyes flicking up to mine. I usually don't. Alex handles the bills. But I had this feeling. She turned the screen toward me. Hotel charges. 2, sometimes 3 a month. Not just local. Out of town. Hours away. And always under Melissa's name. Why would he book under her name? I asked, already knowing I didn't want the answer. Because he didn't, Megan said. She did. These aren't on our account. They're on hers. She looked down. I found an itinerary in his drawer. Napa Valley. They went on a wine tour together. I leaned back in my chair. My chest tightened. Napa. That weekend Melissa told me she was visiting her sister. She came back with a tan that didn't match the weather report and a bottle of Merlot she said she brought back just for us. I remember lying in bed, her fingers tracing circles on my chest, her smile just a little too rehearsed. Now I knew why. Do you really want to make them feel it? Megan asked one night, her voice low but sharp with intent. I smiled. More than you know. The very next day, she sent me a video. A friend of hers worked at a boutique hotel upstate and apparently, Melissa and Alex weren't nearly as careful as they thought. There they were, right on camera, walking into a suite, arms linked like they were proud of it. His hand slid down her back like she belonged to him. They kissed near the elevator. She kissed him back like he was hers. I watched it twice. Then I deleted it, not because it didn't hurt, but because I didn't need to keep replaying it to remember exactly what they were. I was done focusing on who they had been. I was more interested in what they were becoming. Here's the truth, discovering the affair doesn't bring peace. You think names, dates, and hotel room receipts will finally scratch that itch. That you'll find some kind of release in knowing. You don't. All it does is confirm what your gut already screamed at you months ago. And that's when the real hunger starts, not for answers, but for consequences. Megan felt it too. I could see it happening in real time. Her texts got shorter, her tone cooler, her voice steadier on our late-night calls. We weren't bleeding anymore. We were calculating. Controlled. United. It started small, just one text from an anonymous number. "Melissa, you should ask Alex about his business dinners. You're not the only one." It was sent on a Tuesday afternoon. Megan timed it perfectly, just as Melissa was walking into work. She still had her location shared on the family iPad. An old setting from some vacation years ago. Now, it was our map for quiet warfare. That night, Melissa called Alex. Megan told me she heard them, voices raised, accusations thrown. It didn't matter that the message came from a burner. Melissa's guilt was already so fragile, it cracked under the slightest pressure. 2 days later, Megan sent Alex one of his own. "Melissa isn't who you think she is. Ask her about the guy from yoga, or maybe that bartender last month." Total lies. Believable ones. Because once you've already cheated, trust becomes a house of cards in a wind tunnel. We never confronted them directly. That was the key. No yelling. No messy showdowns. Just quiet, surgical strikes of doubt. At first, it was subtle, delayed replies, missed calls, awkward silences. Then the distance started showing. They stopped seeing each other for nearly 2 weeks. "She thinks he's talking to someone else," I told Megan. "Good," she said. "Let's make sure she's certain of it." So, we created a fake Instagram account. Username at sasha.takes.flight. A travel influencer, clean, curated. A few bikini photos, quotes stolen from real influencers, followed by boutique hotels, wine tour pages, and a handful of men's fashion brands. Then we followed Alex. Liked a couple of his older photos. Dropped a flame emoji on a picture of his dog. 2 days later, Melissa unfollowed him. "She's unraveling," Megan said over the phone, her voice cool and calm. "Let's give her a little push," I replied. Meanwhile, I started leaving small signals around the house. Nothing over the top. Just enough for Melissa to notice. Cologne that wasn't mine, left in the car. A new bar of soap in the shower. Shirts she didn't recognize folded into my drawer. She noticed. I'd catch her glancing when she thought I wasn't looking. One night she even sniffed the collar of my jacket while I was out with a coworker. She didn't ask which one. She just stared. Suspicion. Jealousy. The same poison they poured into us, now circling back their way. Megan did the same. Left her phone unlocked on the kitchen counter, fake messages visible from someone named Eli. "Can't stop thinking about last night. Did he notice?" All made up, she told me during a late call. But the moment Alex saw them, he went to bed early. Didn't touch me. Barely looked at me. We both laughed. It wasn't a happy kind of laugh. It was darker. Quieter. The sound of two people no longer afraid of the fallout. But revenge isn't clean. It leaves residue. It seeps into places you didn't expect. One night, Megan and I met for coffee, not to plan, not to scheme. Just to breathe. To sit across from someone who didn't need a translation for what this felt like. She looked tired. I probably did too. "You ever think about how we even got here?" she asked, hands wrapped around her cup. "All the time. I used to think I knew him," she said, her eyes lost in the swirl of cream in her mug. "Now I don't even recognize his voice when he's trying to sound honest." I nodded. Same with Melissa. She didn't just cheat. It's like she rewrote who she was completely, or maybe I just never saw it before. Megan looked up at me, her gaze soft but steady. "You're not like him. You don't know that, I said. I do. A silence passed between us, heavier than before, but not uncomfortable. There was something different now. Unspoken. Unexplored. We didn't touch. Didn't lean closer. But it was there, in the way Megan's gaze lingered just a second longer. In the way I didn't want to look away. Something was shifting. Back at home, Melissa was waiting for me on the couch. Hair down. Legs curled under her. She looked up at me like a kid caught doing something they weren't supposed to. You've been distant lately, she said carefully. Have I? I asked, flat. She nodded slowly. If there's someone else. I deserve to know. The irony of it nearly made me laugh. Instead, I just met her eyes. What makes you think that? She shrugged. Her voice cracked just a little. The way you've been acting. Your phone. The cologne. You mean, I said, letting the pause hang, the way you acted for months? Her breath caught like I'd hit her. I leaned down and kissed her forehead. I'm not the one you need to be worried about, Melissa. Then I walked past her, up the stairs, and into the shower, letting the water scorch away any trace of guilt I had long since stopped carrying. Cheating is fire. It starts out hot. Wild. Impossible to ignore. But if you don't put it out, it spreads, and then it consumes. And when the smoke clears, all that's left is ruin. Melissa and Alex? They were burning. It began with the silence. Melissa stopped humming. Stopped smiling at her phone. Stopped spending extra time in the mirror before she went out. Her confidence, once careless and playful, had turned. Now it was nervous. Paranoid. She paced the house. Checked the front window too often. Like she felt eyes on her. She didn't know I was watching. She texted Alex less. Deleted messages faster. She didn't realize I saw every bit of it. And then, she cracked. It was a Saturday. The kids were at my sister's. I was in the garage, pretending to sort through tools when she stepped out barefoot, gripping her phone like it had betrayed her. Can I ask you something? She said, quiet. I turned. Sure. She looked down. Do you think I'm a fool? I blinked. Where's that coming from? She took a shaky breath. I keep wondering if Alex used me. If everything I thought we had was just fake. I didn't say a word. He's been cold. Distant. I asked him straight out last night, and he swore nothing was going on. But I know what lying looks like. Do you? I asked. She blinked, caught off guard. Her face crumpled slightly. Mike, you lied to me for months. You gaslit me, Melissa. You lied, manipulated, twisted the truth. And now you're surprised someone might be doing the same to you? She sat on the edge of the workbench, head in her hands. I thought I had control, she whispered. But I think I was just one of many. She finally looked up at me. What if he's seeing someone else now? What if I was just a placeholder? I shrugged. Then now you know what it feels like. Tears gathered in her eyes. But I didn't comfort her. I didn't move. I let the silence land hard, right between us. Later that night, Megan texted me. He asked if I've ever cheated. Out of nowhere. What did you say? I replied. I asked why he was asking. He got defensive. Said he was just curious. But I could see it. He doesn't trust her anymore. Good. Let the cracks spread. Exactly, she wrote. And Mike, she called him a liar. Said he's distracted lately. Asked if he's met someone new. I stared at the screen. Then typed back. Maybe he has. Megan and I met again. Not at a cafe. Not a park. At her place. Her kids were with their grandparents for the weekend. I brought Chinese takeout. We sat on the back porch under string lights, picking at noodles and sipping red wine. No schemes. No plans. Just two tired people, breathing. I don't think they'll last, Megan said after a while. They were never built to, I replied. She glanced at me. Do you think they ever actually loved each other? I thought for a moment. I think they loved the thrill. The escape. Not each other. She curled her knees up to her chest. I hate that I excused it for so long. I looked away from things I should have questioned. We all do, I said. Until we can't. She turned to me, her head tilted slightly. You ever think about what comes next? After all this? I met her eyes. This time, neither of us looked away. For a few seconds, there was no betrayal. No fire. No lies. Just her, inches from me, and something real in the quiet between us. I reached for her hand. She didn't pull away. Then one night, in the middle of my shower, I heard it, her phone ringing. Melissa darted for it like it might explode, eyes wide, fingers fumbling. Alex, she whispered into the receiver, voice already trembling. I couldn't hear what he said. I didn't have to. I watched her expression crumble like a house folding in on itself. Whatever he told her, it broke something in her. She sat down on the edge of the bed, the phone still pressed to her ear. No, please don't say that, she begged. I thought we were still trying to figure this out. More silence. Then I saw her lips part in shock. So, that's it? I turned away and let her cry. Alone. Over the next few days, Melissa turned into a ghost. She barely spoke. Barely ate. She moved through the house like someone trying to remember how to be a person again. She tried to force normal. Cleaned the kitchen. Left dinner simmering on the stove. Even brought home a bottle of that red I used to like. I didn't take the bait. Then one night, she showed up in the doorway of my office. Arms wrapped tightly around herself. Mike, she said softly. Can we talk? I nodded, not looking up from my screen. She stepped in carefully, like the room might bite her. I'm sorry, she whispered. I don't know what I was thinking. About any of it. I ruined everything. And I don't expect you to forgive me, but I need you to know I regret it. All of it. I looked up. She looked smaller somehow. Frail. I believe you regret it, I said. But not because of what you did. Because of what you lost. Her face twisted. That's not fair. It's exactly fair, I said calmly. You weren't sorry when it was happening. Only now that the thrill is over and the fallout is real. She stepped closer. I miss us, Mike. I miss you. I want to try again. I know it'll take time, but I'm willing. I stared at her for a long moment. And that's when I realized something that hit harder than any scream ever could. I didn't feel anything. No pull. No warmth. No craving for her to reach out and touch me again. Just emptiness. You didn't just break us, Melissa, I said. You buried us. Meanwhile, Megan had finally made her move. We met at the same cafe where we first sat as strangers. Now, she sat across from me, hands wrapped around a coffee mug she never touched. I told him I want a divorce, she said. I nodded slowly. How'd he take it? Like a coward, she said. Tried to spin it like it was just a slip. Like we could work through it, like what he did was a mistake, not a pattern. She looked out the window. But the second I said it out loud, I knew I was done. I didn't cry. Didn't yell. I just felt free. I smiled faintly. I know that feeling. She looked at me again, her eyes softer than I'd ever seen them. You're not staying, are you? I shook my head. No. There's nothing left to stay for. Megan reached across the table and rested her hand over mine. No words. Just understanding. When I got home, Melissa was sitting on the stairs. Hair pulled back. Face pale. Eyes empty from too many sleepless nights. I know you don't love me anymore, she said. I didn't answer. She stood. Took one step down. Then another. But I still love you, she whispered. And if you ever change your mind, if there's even a sliver of a chance we could rebuild. There's not, I said flatly. She froze. I'll always care about the version of you I married, I added. But she's gone. And I'm not going to spend the rest of my life trying to resurrect her. A single tear slid down her cheek. I didn't wipe it away. I walked past her. Up the stairs. Every step I took confirmed what I already knew, I was already gone. Even if my body was still in that house. Later that night, Megan texted me. Told the kids today. They were sad, but okay. I think I'll be better off in the long run. They will. And so will you. Packing. Looking at rentals tomorrow. Thinking somewhere near the coast. There was a pause. Then. Need company? I stared at the message for a long time. Then typed back. Yeah. You do. The ocean doesn't care about your pain. I realized that standing on a weathered deck, watching the tide roll in beneath a sky smeared in gold and lavender. It just keeps coming, and going. Slow. Steady. Unbothered. And for the first time in a long time. I did too. The ocean was indifferent. To heartbreak. To hope. And maybe that's exactly why we came here, to the coast. To breathe. To be. Megan stood next to me, her hoodie pulled tight against the wind, hands wrapped around a steaming cup of coffee. Her hair danced in the breeze. Her silence didn't feel sharp or suffocating, not like Melissa's used to. It felt present. Companionable. Real. We booked the beach house together on a whim. 2 weeks. No kids. No exes. Just the kind of baggage you physically pack and tuck into a car trunk. I wasn't sure what this was, not fully. But I knew I didn't want to be anywhere else. I didn't think I could do this, Megan said quietly, eyes fixed on the waves. Leave it all behind? She nodded. You didn't, I said. You survived it. She turned, met my gaze. So did you. I smiled and took a sip of coffee. First time I've slept through the night in months. Same. We hadn't touched, not really. Just the accidental brush of hands. The quiet bump of shoulders as we walked along the shoreline. Nothing forced. Nothing rushed. There was peace in that restraint, a kind of respect that didn't need to be spoken. On the third day, we rented bikes and rode a winding path down the boardwalk. Sea grass rustled on either side, the air smelled like salt and sunscreen. We didn't talk about Melissa or Alex. We talked about childhood vacations, our favorite books, the songs we secretly loved but never admitted to anyone. We laughed, not because we needed to forget, but because, finally, we could. At one point, she stopped her bike, planted her feet in the sand, and stared out at the water. I used to think love had to be chaos, she said. That it had to be wild and consuming to be real. But now, I just want to feel safe. I nodded. Same. That night, we drank wine on the deck, legs stretched beneath a shared blanket. Stars hung overhead like tiny holes punched in the night sky. She leaned into me, her head resting gently on my shoulder. "You think this is real?" she asked. I didn't pretend not to understand. "I think it's honest." She tilted her face up toward mine. "That's a good start." And then, finally, we kissed. Soft. Slow. No rush. No need to prove anything. Just two people, broken open, finally letting someone close the gap. It wasn't fireworks. It was something quieter, deeper. The kind of kiss that doesn't ask for anything. It just says, "I'm here." We didn't define it. When we held hands on our morning walk the next day, we didn't talk about what it meant. We didn't need to. I watched her laugh as the tide touched her ankles. And for the first time in what felt like forever, I felt something spark in my chest. Not pain. Not anger. Just lightness. Like maybe happiness isn't something you chase. Maybe it finds you, once you finally stop bleeding. The night before we left, the house was quiet. Our bags were packed. The waves outside rustled steady and soft, like a lullaby you don't know you need. Megan reached for my hand. "What happens when we go back?" she asked. I sat with the question. Then said, "We start fresh. Not perfect. Not fast. Just, real." She nodded and leaned into me again. I could get used to that. The next morning, we loaded up the car. I looked back at the little beach house one last time. Not with sadness. Not with regret. With gratitude. That place gave me something I didn't know I'd lost, hope. Not just in life, but in love. And as we pulled away, Megan's hand resting lightly over mine, I realized something simple and powerful. Everything I thought was the end, had really just been a beginning.